Alright everyone, we are live for a week 1 match during week 2. There was some delayed matches that were going to go this next week. The holiday weekend, people had to sell something, having mothers. So that kind of interfered with some scheduling. So we have the actual week 1 map. It's going to be Echerion, or Echerion, however that's pronounced in Greek. I'm not Greek, so can't tell you. It's going to be Sturgia and Empire in VK2 versus JOMTARDS, or JOMTARDS versus Vlandian champions. Looks like we have VK2 on Sturgia first and Jom on Empire. And what else? Yeah, I'll be updating the scoreboard to reflect the current map and status. It's the first. We're going to be going into the first round of the match on the first map here momentarily. It looks like we have 6 players from each side. And we should be starting pretty soon here. Lots of very solid players on both sides. Daymonicus and Swrvy are some of the best cav in the game. NoPanda is incredible on infantry, so is Thrax. Thrax just went top of the Siege scoreboard in Colorado campaign. On the attacker's side, that was an event today. So well done to him. Beastermaster also great on Cav. Alkryia, I think no slash on Cav either. OrkWarboss, another great all-around player. And Sweet, I also recognize is very competent. I think a Cav player occasionally. But these are all really great players in B Division. These are all very solid players. I think we'll be having a great match here coming soon. I'm not really sure who's going to win. I mean, really solid players on both teams. I think we're going to see some crazy fights here. Doesn't have commentary. Let's see. Somebody's saying my audio is broken. Let's take a look. All right. Well, if there was an audio issue, it is now resolved. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat all the information here. 1 second. Give me a moment. All right. Well, when there's a dull moment, I'll go ahead and go over some general information. All right. So we have VK2 Vlandian champions versus JOMTARDS and Friend. That's Friend singular. That's not a misspeak on my side. We have Swrvy versus Beastermaster and Alkryia. They're already fighting on C, so we're going to see a pretty well-fought Cav fight here. These are high-level players, and I'm excited to see how they do. So, starting off, VK2 is on Sturgia. They have the weaker cavalry class, but in close quarters like this, that doesn't matter nearly as much. And we already see Swrvy go down. So, too good. Not a great start for VK2, but they still have a chance to come back. And the on A. So we have first infantry goes down on Empire for Jom. And then another Cav kill by Empire, so it's starting to even out. Empire's up by 1. Looking pretty good for Jom. I'd say, you know, they have worse infantry class, but the better cavalry, and that's kind of seems to be working for them right now. Flokko gets a great kick in there. Very solid infantry player. So VK was able to pull together and win that first infantry fight, and they really need to with Sturgia, especially in the first round where they have that eco disadvantage, that 160-gold infantry class. They can only spawn life. They're bringing loot. The important thing to do, which VK reinforces, is they bring loot back to spawns. That way, when they die in their second lives, super critical for the first round of Sturgia. They cannot afford a decent class So they die on their first lives. So they dump weapons and shields back to their spawn as much as they can. VK is very much trained to always do this. It's something Les always reinforces and has mentioned repeatedly in his commentary in earlier games, so I don't think I'm giving away any secrets here. This is public information. If you're playing Vlandia, you're playing Sturgia, you're playing Britannia, you're playing any class that has a more expensive infantry class on its first life, where you're going to be stuck with a peasant life on your respawn for the first round, like right here. You know, they tried. They still couldn't get to the weapons in time, because John was smart enough to deny that. They didn't sit on their laurels and, you know, bask in the victory. They moved forward and got in the way. So that was a smart move, and it seems to be working for them. You know, this was really Sturgia's match to lose on this first round, and that's really kind of to be expected. Would have been a tough win for them on this first round, so I wouldn't draw too many conclusions from that. But it's really going to start to matter this next round, where they have the eco disadvantage solved. That's just kind of a natural thing for Sturgia, Britannia, Vlandia. They all have that. Start with 300 gold, and their heavy is 160. And the way that you usually want to play it, the meta strategy in Skirmish is always spawn your cheapest class of the first round, unless you're basically Empire, where it's always kind of cheap to respawn, like 150, 150, or your Azurai, and all your lives are 100 gold, and, you know, that's certainly an interesting difference between them and other factions. So yeah, I don't know if the earlier commentary got cut off, but just to recap, this is actually a week 1 match during week 2. That Beano goes Archer could do a lot of damage here. He's in a good spot. It's going to be hard for VK to push all the way over there, and they're not having an easy time of doing it. And looks like their cavalry comes in at just the right time to really interfere with that push on the Archer. This guy takes some nasty hits trying to get towards them. Archer's kind of shut down now, so not able to shoot at least, but, you know, this guy's fighting a 2v1 in order to keep the Archer busy. You know, last guy alive, he's not going to be able to do very much, so the Archer, even just by distracting him and bringing, you know, turned away 2 players who got stabbed by Cav. You know, even the Archer didn't get in a ton of damage. He still served a value to his team. Now, obviously, you know, them being down in the infantry fight still may have not paid off. I think these are their second lives. Yeah, these are their second lives, so, you know, down an infantry player, it wasn't enough of a disadvantage for VK to really win that first fight. I think, you know, this round is not looking great for them. I think they still have some chance, but it's going to be difficult to pull together here. Daymonicus is sitting behind and about to get shot by an Archer. That was a near miss, very close. And where is the other cap? I'm not sure. Just died here. Yeah, obviously this Archer's really kind of punishing the cavalry for being nearby at all. Now, I don't know if... Is that Plo Koon's first life? I hope it was. It was. Alright, so we have a B Division match here, which I may not have actually updated the title to reflect. I think it might still say D Division, which is totally incorrect. This is a B Division match. And hopefully if there's a dull moment, I will be updating the video title here in a moment. We have a Cav duel while an infantry fight is ongoing, and I think they're realizing their mistake. I think Sturgia's, well, they did get a dismount, so it could kind of pay off here, but they kind of wasted a lot of time. Despite wasting that time, their infantry still, yeah, I mean, they have one guy out, their best infantry player, one of their best infantry players. I mean, I don't know, Flokko's very good as well, but NoPanda's an incredible player on infantry. He's out. It's going to hurt Sturgia / VK2 a lot, not have him in the fight. And yeah, it's looking, I think it's pretty over for Sturgia. I don't know, I think having both of the Sturgian cavalry duel while their infantry was getting hosed is not the right move in hindsight, but it's certainly something I would do myself, so yeah, looking pretty good for Jom so far. It might be a tough for VK to get some wins on this first set. Let's go ahead and increment the scoreboard, which I've not been doing yet so far. Here we go, 2 wins for Jom. And let's see what happens. Any compositional changes, still 4-2 on Vlandia, still having an Archer on Empire. Interesting. Let's see how the catfight goes for Daymonicus and Swrvy here. Wow. It's huge. Cav is dueling on C. Hopefully Vlandia, sorry, Sturgia can... Same thing. Hopefully VK2 can peel off from that fight. Here they come in. Oh, wow, that shot was huge. That joust on Daymonicus is really going to hurt VK2. It's got to be frustrating to beat that cavalry. You know, sometimes you're better off, you know, just kind of baiting a shot to your horse at a low speed and distracting the infantry, the archer that way. Get enough time for your infantry to approach, but not if to have to take damage, do something. That's got to be frustrating for Daymonicus, who's not getting as much scores as he probably would like to be doing. Swrvy's doing pretty well on the scoreboard. Beano, their archer, is top of the scoreboard on Empire/Jom. It could have been really bad for Daymonicus, being stuck there. Looks like the cavalry on Vlandia or Sturgia is taking another big hit from the archer. Again, Daymonicus completely shot down by the archer both times. I would be pretty furious if that was me on cavalry. And Beano's doing a great job, unfortunately for Vlandia, which is a Sturgian faction for this first round of the set on this first map. It's going to be tough to pull off a win here, I think. The fight didn't go completely their way. Although OrkWarboss is out, so that's pretty big for Vlandia. Now, maybe Daymonicus, yeah, he got knocked out cavalry both times. I guess he did have enough gold left for peasant life. Probably because he didn't go heavy cav at all in any of these rounds so far. It's a pretty big spear from NoPanda there. Wow, so they actually pick up a round. Great. I mean, you don't want to see a complete stomp either. It's not interesting when one side just stomp. Getting a comment that my microphone is cutting out. I'm going to just turn off push-to-talk entirely. You may hear some typing as a result, but that might be preferable to my microphone cutting out constantly. So I appreciate the call out there, John. So commenter in the chat mentioned microphone audio is cutting out, so that won't be happening going forward, although you may hear some background noise. So we see an immediate fight, and this time we haven't got a Sturgian cavalry jousting their archer yet. It's gone very badly for them every time. And there he goes again. I think he actually got a hit off, but that time he gets, every time they go for that archer, they're taking a nasty hit. It's got to be tough to be on Sturgian cavalry right now for Vlandia. My resolution may have suddenly gotten worse. Not sure about that. We'll take a look at that between rounds here. Okay, so I think that was the first live Sturgians, and it might have done some damage. I think the archer is still on first. Didn't see him go down. Alright, so this fight might be going in favor of VK2. OrkWarboss is down. Well, the recruit is... I don't know why he did that. I probably couldn't afford the eco Beastermaster. I mean, I don't know. Was he trying to shut down the cavalry or something? But, let's see. He did not have enough eco for a full infantry life. Must have been because he was going cavalry. So... pretty huge turnaround for the Vlandian champions, VK2. Let's go ahead and increment that scoreboard. So yeah, I think, let's see, who do we think is favored on this matchup? I think we decided earlier that overall this is a bit Sturgia favored as a matchup. Better infantry. Well, you do have the worst cavalry, but on a map like this, counts for a bit less. You know, very enclosed, harder for cavalry to get in those picks. So, now Daymonicus goes down right away, which was probably another fight on C. I'd say on net, it's been happening a little bit too often for the Vlandian champions. You know, it's a little bit interesting that if they're pulling back to get their archer better position. I just feel like if you knock out their cavalry, you want to usually fight right away. But I suppose it does make sense to pull back with the archer in play as well. It's going to be really bad if Daymonicus just goes down. I didn't see if that happened yet. He's not fully out, so he's probably already left the fight. But I think he did come in temporarily. This is still Swrvy on Sturgia. Is this him again? No, that's Echerion. NoPanda stayed up for basically forever. Highest scoring player on the Vlandian champions, and he is infantry, which goes to show you, I mean, normally you'd expect a cav player to be at top of the scoreboard, like on JOM. You know, archer and 2 cavalry players makes complete sense. That's the top of their scoreboard. But on VK2, you have NoPanda, because he's kind of cracked as an infantry player. Does really well. Has crazy feints. He's really good at blocking. Great all-around player as well, actually. He's probably almost good enough to be B-tier cavalry as well, even though he's on infantry. Certainly, he could play on a C-division team as cavalry. Looks like, interesting. Is this Swrvy? I think Swrvy's last life, he might have died twice here in this round. So he's doing a peasant life for his last respawn. Yeah, I didn't pay enough attention. I'm not sure if Daymonicus died twice and respawned as Archer, or if he actually respawned Archer after his first life. But apparently, he was tired of getting shot by the Archer and decided to give him a taste of their own medicine, which seems to have worked out. I think he got a kill just there right now. I think it's not looking too good for John here. mean, it was the very last round of this set, so it made sense that he spawned. Alright, so that's 3-2 in VK2's favor for the first half of the first map. It's been a pretty competitive match so far. Well played to both teams. Go ahead and change the faction icons here. We'll have Jom on Sturgia and VK2 on Empire. Alright, so this is the second half of the first map. It's still a week 1 match, kind of during the week 2 schedule. And that's occurring again because there was a holiday weekend last weekend. Kind of the week 1 matches were concluding with the default time occurring on a holiday. So there was an extension which allowed for teams to have their week 1 matches during this week 2 schedule. All week 2 matches should be finished by basically end of day tomorrow, which is Sunday. So we're going to have Jom on Sturgia, VK2 on Empire. This will be their first time playing in the tournament overall, to my understanding. I don't think they've had their week 2 matches yet, to my knowledge. Although technically not impossible. It could happen. I wasn't paying attention. So we're currently in the warm-up round, and then we'll have the second half of the first map here momentarily. I do wonder if NoPanda is going to be on Archer. You know, people don't always have to play the class that they are playing in the warm-up, obviously. But NoPanda's a very decent Archer, and VK2 had a bit of a tough time dealing with the Archer on Sturgia. So when they were on Sturgia, they had a tough time with Jom's Archer, who was kind of kicking the ass of the cavalry the whole time. Knocked out, I think, every single joust that the cavalry went for that I saw with, what was his name, Beano? Jom's BW Beano, every time that cavalry went for him, they kind of did a pretty nasty arrow to the chest, the shoulder, the head, and that was not working out too well for them. I would not be surprised if they take an Archer on Empire. I mean, they were doing so when they were on Sturgia. You know, VK2 was bringing an Archer on Sturgia, where the Archer class is, you know, considered pretty weak in general. So I would not be surprised if they take one, especially if they are expecting to see one from Beano. You know, Beano, I don't personally recognize him that well, but clearly a pretty skilled player to be getting those shots in so consistently. And I would say it's usually the hardest to land those on charging cavalry. You know, they have a shield, the stress is very high, you got a very limited window of opportunity. You got to aim pretty exactly to not die in about one hit, so. We have our second half about to start here. Let's see what the compositions are going to be here. They're currently selecting their classes. They have all of 13 seconds to do that. And I'm excited to see what happens here. I think, you know, very likely for Jom to lose this first round. I'm curious if they use the same strategy of bringing loot back to spawn that VK always uses in these situations. So this is the first round for the Vlandian champions on Empire, and we have a 4-2 composition again. No surprises from them. Swrvy and Daymonicus to be expected, Alkryia and Beastermaster, the same Cav players from the first half, and currently in Empire's favor by one hit, and then now they're even on hits. We'll see who goes down first. And a thrower, interesting strategy, bringing a throwing axes to that fight. It did actually pay off. They already got one kill in. It's hard to say if that was the reason why. And I see that Alkryia is insulting Swrvy, which is technically against the tournament rules, but possibly a good idea, because Swrvy's known for having a bit of a temper. Who can blame him? I would also be mad if I died in that situation. So, anyways, looks like kind of a winning start for Sturgia, despite the disadvantage in spear reach. Again, very well known that Sturgia has very strong infantry, but relatively weak cavalry, relatively weak archer. I mean, the cavalry has a very nice perk, the blood money perks. If they get kills in, they can usually, you know, afford a third life relatively early versus other factions and classes, but it's pretty tough to use. Generally, you want to be helping the infantry as opposed to, you know, dueling cavalry in most scenarios. I'd say in that very close fight on sea, it's a little bit more justifiable to play more aggressively with Sturgia, where the distance matters a bit less. It's kind of the speed and timing matters. So we have our first infantry fight, second half. It's hard to say who's already up in the fight. Jom gets 2 kills right off the bat, so yeah, this is going to be their hardest round, having the eco disadvantage. Could be really huge for them to win here. Maybe a bad omen if they do take the first fight by this much, because they're going to have an eco advantage, you know. Well, not an eco advantage, but their eco disadvantage is going to be, you know, gone for the future rounds of the second half. They'll be able to afford their full classes for both lives, and yeah, I think that's going to be tough for Vlandia. I think Jom is kind of known, at least to me, as something of an infantry, you know, clan. They clearly have some competent cavalry players, but looks like they're really taking advantage of that Sturgian heavy infantry, you know, solid armor and weapon, that axe there. I think they still did quite a bit of damage. I mean, not a ton, but, you know, Plockhoon's not looking too great. NoPanda took some damage there as well. I mean, 3 very solid players took some damage on their... And Thrax is out. Yeah, I mean, I think Empire probably loses. I mean, there's a real chance they lose this fight, even though, you know, VK has peasant lives. Sorry, Jom has peasant lives on Sturgia, and they do have some loot around here. I don't think that was by virtue of them really planning ahead. It was just by coincidence that the fight happened right in front of their spawn, and Empire did not push in to stop them for whatever reason. I mean, they didn't have to because they have the flag advantage, but you know, in hindsight, it's hard to say if that was the right move to let Sturgia get some loot in. Cavalry dismounted for Vlandian Knights, so it's going to hurt them by a bit. It's interesting that they still have 2 spears in addition to having 2 dismounted cavalry, and that's going to really... Yeah, I don't see Vlandian Knights pulling off a win with that. That was huge. One of the better players getting knocked out by throwing axe to the face. Yeah, it's pretty incredible that Jom is going to get the first round here. It's very tough to do. As Sturgia, you do not have the advantage. You know, Empire had 2 full heavy infantry lives, and Sturgia only had 1, and then peasant lives. And despite that, you know, this brigand play with the throwing axe class on Sturgia by Jom really seemed to pay off for them, so kudos to them. So, looks like they're going a more conventional 4-2 this time. Yeah, there's no throwing axe class coming to interrupt the cav fight. That was something that they did their first round because they were expecting to not have 2 full lives anyways. Looks like the infantry are currently having a standoff as the cavalry duel here. Daymonicus gets in a kill. It's going to help DK2 have a better chance of winning this fight. Wow, both cav knocked out on Sturgia. Empire does have the better faction advantage for cavalry, so it makes sense that Vlandians are getting right in the infantry fight now that both those cav are knocked out. It looks like that cavalry might have missed his lance there. Would have been a pretty huge win for them if they could get that infantry knocked out early. Overall, Empire does lose that fight, despite having both Sturgia and cav knocked out initially. You know, hard to say what exactly was what made the difference there, but the Vlandian Knights are going to have to play really well to pull that off. I mean, it looks like there's some pretty healthy first lives on Sturgia. Beano, OrkWarboss. I mean, OrkWarboss, did he take any damage? He looks completely untouched. So to have this many players, oh wow. Okay, then Swrvy gets knocked out. Beastmaster takes his horse and the better spear. Okay, I think that Vlandian Nets are gonna not take this round, fortunately. I mean, they're down by 2 players already, and Jom has a fresh generation that's basically unharmed, and these guys are all, you know, kind of hit with it. Well, maybe they're not damaged by much if they are hit at all. Maybe just one of them. Is that Flokko who got hit? It's gonna be really tough for them to win here. Not impossible, but yeah, I didn't see that going their way. And the Cav was in a bit late there. Yeah, well played to Jom. Crusader from the Future, I think he was on infantry the whole time and has a crazy amount of score, given that fact. I just realized I've not been incrementing the scoreboard. Let's go ahead and increment that by 2 for Jom. Now, Swrvy was late to that fight there. I don't know how much damage that Daymonicus took while he was, you know, taking his time to get there. Not intentionally, but yeah. I don't know. That's got to be rough. This is going to be tough for Daymonicus to win there. Daymonicus gets a kill in on Beastmaster, who's, again, a very solid Cav player. But that went pretty badly for the Vlandians on Empire. I mean, it's going to require some very focused and exceptional infantry gameplay from VK2 on Empire to really turn this around. It's been a kind of a stomp so far by the JOMTARDS and friend, currently playing Sturgia. Doesn't really look like they're getting in enough damage to pull it off. Yeah, I think it's 1 Empire knocked out, 1 Empire infantry knocked out. OrkWarboss goes down, so now it's a little bit more even. Okay, pretty even fight, actually. It's going to be down to the last, what, 3-2? Now it's a 2v2, 1v2. I think Empire just barely wins this fight, but, I mean, I don't know if you can say that when their cavalry kind of got knocked out. Oh, is Beano completely out? No, he's not. He's respawning. So the first lives on VK2 are going to reset. Oh, wow, that's pretty big to get that hit. I mean, the Cav probably was first life and trying to reset. So, not too dramatic to have that happen there. It kind of goes to show you what a big deal it was for them for VK2 to not win that infantry fight in the first place. So the Cav fight on C, I meant to say. You know, if that was a second life Cav going down, it would be a dramatic difference for... Yeah, that's huge. That's the second Cav life, and he's about to go down there. And it's going to be pretty much over for VK2. I think Daymonicus does the right thing, and he tries to just block and kind of roach, and didn't get enough help from everybody else around him, and he goes down. I mean, with that big, you know, Drusina, or I should say Cataphract spear, it's very tough to spear at close range. It's so long. Not impossible, but when somebody's kind of on your ass like that, there's not much you can do. They're that in your face. You can try kicking, you can try pushing them off, but with the Cav stabbing in the back, there wasn't much you could have done. So I may have been completely wrong about this looking kind of bad for VK2. Looks like they're going to pull off, you know, a win here, and I think that seals it. A good turnaround. It's been a very close match this whole time. Score's about to even up with a 4-4. So yeah, first half of the first map was a close fought. You know, initially it went in Jom's favor, but VK2 turned it around in a 3-2. And for the second half, you know, Jom had a very strong start, even on their weakest round, winning that first round in Sturgia, hardest round for them. Despite winning their hardest round, they didn't win all of the rounds. And, I mean, that was what I was kind of worried about for VK2 is if you can't beat Sturgia on their weakest round, you know, what's going to happen for the remainder? You kind of wonder, are they going to win any of them? But they kind of turned it around. It didn't turn into a stop. It's going to remain a competitive match. So there's still another whole map to fight here. And you don't often see taunts in a competitive match, but it's kind of funny that's happening right now. Now another... Yeah, Beano really likes to get in here, I guess. Was that Beano the first... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The first round, Sturgia came in here with a throwing axe. And did he just dismount somebody? I don't know who he dismounted. I don't know if it was his friendly or his enemy. But Sturgia has been doing this thing where they bring one infantry in on the sea fight. And it's definitely been to the disadvantage of VK2. It's been surprisingly effective. It's not a strategy I've seen before, because you know the downside is obviously you're missing an infantry. So if you get pushed, it's a bad fight for you. It's weird how much stuff there's going on at sea when I'd expect everybody to kind of be focusing in this center fight here. Cav is very much dueling on the periphery, all the infantry are having their own fight. Looking pretty good so far this round for Empire. That was a very interesting dismount from Swrvy. That's a play I don't often see. It's probably a high-level thing I'm just not familiar with. I think that he realized he'd have an easier time of stabbing him, I guess, on infantry. I mean, I don't know. Was that intentional? It's hard to say. Somebody in chat can tell me, or after the match, Swrvy can comment on the video if he wants to. Okay, well. Okay, so where's VK2 spawning? I mean, I think they did some damage with their first lives. Not a ton. It wasn't a stomp by any means, but let's see. Very close fight. It's gonna be tough for cavalry to do a whole lot here. Looks like VK2 is gonna take another round here. Pulls ahead by just barely. It's now a 5-4 in the favor of VK2. We're about to have the last round of the second half of the first map. Let's see what happens here. Daymonicus is a little bit delayed in arriving to sea. I don't know if that was intentional. And I couldn't tell who got that hit in. Looks like Daymonicus is unharmed as far as I can tell, so presumably that was a stab to a Stygian horse. Interesting play there. Oh wow, that's huge. His horse was poking out, and now I think the Sturgians are going to fight ASAP, exactly as yeah, what you'd expect. With the Empire cavalry dismounted and so far away from the fight, Sturgia's pushing in for B right away. Certainly in Jom's favor now that VK2 has one of their cavalry dismounted. He might remount there, even with, well, no he doesn't. But that, even though, that the horse is dead, distracting whoever this was, Alkryia, from fighting the infantry for so long, it was kind of to the benefit of VK2, but they're not appearing to win this first fight. It's very close. Yeah, looks like Sturgians are going to be just barely winning this, and let's see how much damage that Flokko can do in a 2v1 here. He almost gets in a hit, but didn't do enough, as you might have hoped. Your VK2 supporter, at least. Let's see. So, I think Swrvy's still on first life here. And Daymonicus is on his heavy life. Let's see what happens. Guess Daymonicus is going all the way around, trying to come in kind of last minute towards the end of the fight. Doesn't want to get sniped by another cavalry as he... Wow, that's a huge, huge couch lance from Daymonicus. Knocks out Beano. Might have been the first couch match... Sorry, first couch lance of the match that I've seen. Looks like a couple of the players on Sturgia have peasant lives, but they're basically all on last, and really only one respawn with Swrvy having a peasant life. He goes down here. Going for a pretty aggressive pick. Looks like he's trying to help a first life do a little bit of damage. Is that a first life? There's NoPanda on last there. He was on last, and why was he fighting alone, is my question. It's looking pretty bad for VK2. Well, that got a huge kick just in there. I think John might take this round. It was a good try from Thrax, but yeah, I don't see VK2 winning a... Was a 4v5 here with Swrvy on a recruit class. Nice. Looks like John's going to even it up again to a 5-5. All right, we're moving on to the second map. It's going to be Vlandia versus Empire on Town Outskirts. Not sure who's going to be playing Vlandia first. Presumably it'll be VK2. It's my guess. That sort of stuff is usually not really set in stone. Doesn't really matter. Alright, so the map is currently being reset. Move to Town Outskirts, so you have Vlandia versus Empire. It's kind of similar in the sense that, you know, Vlandia has the same sort of eco setup for infantry as Sturgia does. I think we've tended to see Vlandia do a bit better on these week 1 matches for Vlandia versus Empire. So it does look like we're going to have Jom on Empire first. Let's go ahead and update their icon for that. Looks like all players are here for the first half of the second map. We're about to have the first round of the second map. So we have a question, are they allowed to use crossbows and archers? And the answer is yes. You can have 2 crossbows, 2 archers, up to 2, and up to 2 cavalry. You cannot bring any more than that, so there's no all archer teams, and if you're wondering, horse archers count as both cavalry and archers, so it kind of knocks out, you know, bringing 2 ground archers if you were so inclined. If you bring 1 horse archer, you can only have 1, you know, ground archer on the ground. Yeah, on the ground instead of a horse, I should say. So, speculating about the composition. I think it's very likely going to be Daymonicus and Swrvy on Cavalry on VK2, going with a 4-2 lineup, as they have pretty much been doing throughout this entire match, with, you know, occasionally Daymonicus or somebody else would go to Archer on Sturgia when Beano was really hitting them pretty hard with his Archer class. I would not be surprised to see Beano go Archer, you know, once or twice here or there. Hard to say if this is not a terrible map for it. You know, this platform is a kind of a decent spot to shoot into B. You have a platform here again, so to a certain extent, archers have a favored spot to go to, or even really here, it's, you know, archers on a staircase can be a real nasty place to try to push them. Let's see, any archer? No. Oh, there is Beano on archer. So Beastmaster is on cavalry on Empire for Jom, and let's see, as expected, Swrvy and Daymonicus on cavalry. And let's see, the fight's about to start right away without a whole lot of delay. I don't expect, you know, VK2 to wait very long to fight, with an archer ticking away at them and cavalry trying to bait shots. Now, cavalry, what they're going to do in these higher level matches, cavalry will try to, you know, threaten the rear of the formation to bait shots for the archer. And looks like, I think Vlandia's initially taking the lead on this fight, but, you know, the archer and the cavalry can really turn that around for them pretty fast. Swrvy gets knocked out there. It's going to hurt Vlandia quite a bit in this fight. I think they are up on infantry. Empire kind of misses that stab. Vlandia's pretty up on infantry, but they have to be. You know, this is going to be the hardest round for Vlandia. VK2, you know, we do have Vlandian champions. Vlandian champions are VK2 is on Vlandia to start with, as you might expect. And they're going to be winning this first fight. But I don't think that they're going to have loot on their second lives. And this whole fight was right in the middle of the map. And it doesn't look like they're going out of their way to drop loot at spawn. They might prove me wrong here. Let's hope that they do if they want to have a chance at winning. Looks like one guy's looting here, but, you know, if he gets sniped by cavalry, it's going to be really hurting them if NoPanda gets knocked out. I mean, he's a great player, almost takes a shot there, and then cavalry's harassing him, bump stabs him. That's going to be huge on a peasant life. I mean, he probably took like 40, 50 damage there. So, gonna be a rough second fight for NoPanda, and then Alkryia knocks out Daymonicus. Is that his first life, hopefully, for them? I just realized that Swrvy is completely out. I do not think that Vlandia has a great chance here. They can do enough damage with their first lives, maybe. Did NoPanda just go completely out? Oh, that's... yeah, I think it's kind of over for VK2 for this round. I mean, it is their hardest round, so losing it in a bad way maybe doesn't matter too much. Yeah, trying to fight a recruit archer would be very frustrating because they have that extra, you know, movement speed. So a competent archer on recruit is kind of a nightmare. I mean, this round was already kind of over for VK2. It was their worst round, or hardest round to win, I should say. They're actually doing like 2 kills there. That's pretty big. It's going to mean that they have reduced eco. I mean, you know, legionaries don't really need the extra eco. I guess it kind of, to a certain extent, might rule out one of their players going a 3 recruit life early. But, yeah, so only some of the Empire players have extra eco, but eco is looking pretty good for VK2. Let's go ahead and increment that in favor of Jom. It's now 6-5 in Jom's favor. So this time Alkryia and Jom Beastmaster go right to A. Last time the Vlandian Cav went straight to C. And this time Thrax goes Archer. Very solid infantry player. I think he's not no slouch on archer or crossbow either. We see Beano going Palatine Guard again. Presumably Thrax going crossbow to try and shut down Beano, who is definitely a pain to deal with without any sort of range on your own side. And there's Thrax. Very close shot. And now he's running away and then comes back in. Jom is definitely playing around their archer, their Palatine Guard. Beano. Let's see how this fight goes. You know, I think Cavalry's kind of shutting down Beano, but they're not in the fight as a result. That being said, most of the Empire Cav is also distracted by that. Was that a team kill just there? Oh my god, Daymonicus killed Flokko. That's going to really hurt Vlandia in this fight. I mean, I think Vlandia might have almost completely knocked out the Empire Infantry. Been a lot more even there in that fight, if not for that team kill. You know, it's got to be frustrating for, I think it was Daymonicus who knocked out Flokko. He was probably trying to stab just over his head and hit him by mistake. Daymonicus, is he completely out just now? Or was that a kill by him? I think he must have gotten the kill and received one. Maybe he died in first life. Maybe I'm not paying attention, I think. Yeah, I don't know where Thrax is, but he's not able to shut down Beano here. Kind of just free shooting on B. There he goes. There's that shot. So Thrax was, I don't know how long he was sitting behind that barrel, but waiting for a good opportunity to shoot Beano when he wasn't paying attention. Which is the patient and smart move to make, as opposed to just trying to suppress him in a way where he knows he has to move because he knows that he's seen. So I think that was probably the right play by Thrax. I think Beano will probably be a little bit more careful in future rounds, at least so long as Thrax is on crossbow and unobstructed by cavalry pushing him or infantry. Looks like Empire/Jom infantry is trying to push the archer. I think Swrvy is trying to help Thrax. He's getting harassed by cavalry. Obviously harder to do as much on crossbow when you're getting attacked by a cavalry like that. But it's still a disadvantage for Jom to not have that cavalry in the fight. Looks like Empire's, Jom's gonna remount cavalry here. NoPanda kills Sweet and then gets shot. That was a really good shot by Beano. Yeah, I think it's very unlikely for Thrax to pull off a, what is it, 4-1 here? 3-1? I don't think it's gonna happen. Thrax is actually doing incredibly well on crossbow. They're probably gonna keep that composition, but I don't know. They're probably thinking about what can we change. I mean, they have about 10 seconds to decide which classes are they changing. Are they dropping somebody from cavalry? Are they dropping the archer? I don't know what they're going to change here. It's going to be a tough call either way. They keep the crossbow, and they go 2 cav again. 2 heavies. I wonder if they're going to go for an early couch. I don't think so. It's probably too risky for them to try that on a high-level B division match. Not likely to catch somebody unaware. I mean, actually, maybe they could have. There was no spears here. So, I probably wouldn't try it, but yeah, I don't know. That's, was that worth it? I feel like he just took damage for no reason there. I don't know if he actually got shot or not, but I mean, he's out of position, he's not in the fight. I don't know. Maybe he did want to come from that corner, so maybe it made sense, but Vlandia is definitely having a tough time shutting down this archer, but it looks like they're going to win this fight with their first lives, mostly. Looks like the Empire infantry is trickling to protect the archer, and archer does go down. So, Jom doesn't have all their infantry here, and VK is getting in some solid damage to their first lives. I think VK might have a real chance of winning this round, turning around what's been kind of a stomp for this first half. Excuse me.
Hello?
How's it going?
Mr. FIFA Eviction Notice.
Yeah, you sound kind of sick. How's it? Oh, hey Les, how's it going? I realized I was actually not holding my push-to-talk key, so sorry if I was ignoring you. I've been using no push-to-talk key this whole stream. So, anyways, how's it going?
I've come for an update. I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything. What's going on?
Well, VK2 is down by a little bit. It's a 7-5 match right now. It's been kind of an interesting. Yeah, it's been pretty close. You know, the first map we saw 2-0, where what was it? You know, Jom took the lead right away, and then VK2 turned it around with 3 wins. So it was a 3-2 in their favor.
Wow.
And then I think it was kind of a similar thing, like a 3-2 in Jom's favor the next half. And very unexpectedly, Jom like won their Sturgian Peasant Lives round. So I was surprised to like see Jom won their hardest round on Sturgia, and then won their next round, and then VK turned it around and won another 2 before they had lost the third round of that second half on Echerion. And now it's possibly the match round for the first half of the second map on Town Outskirts. So, you know, VK had lost the first 2 rounds. Now they're kind of turning it around a little bit. Is
this the Red Roof building? It shouldn't be town. Oh, it is Town Outskirts. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first week match lineup for the maps.
Right. So what's the score right now?
7-5, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I might need to bump. I don't think I bumped up the VK2 score when they won a round. Let me just do the math again. It was 3-2, 3-2, so it was like a 5-5 starting off before they got to this map, and then Jom won 2, so it was 7 in their favor, and then VK2 won 1, so it should be actually 7-6.
Oh wow! So VK still has an opportunity to get this dub.
Still a chance here, but this first fight just went very poorly for them. They didn't do a ton of damage, and looks like we have 3-4 infantry up on Empire/Jom. Now, is NoPanda still first life? What is he doing here? Looks like he is second life, and he's all on his own, pushing Archer all by himself. I don't know what's going on here. VK2 is super
Platoon's
split.
playing, correct?
Platoon is playing. He's done reasonably well so far. Yeah, Thrax did really well on crossbow. I mean, he was getting tons of score the first couple rounds, even though Vlandia was, you know, kind of losing. Beano's been kind of a tough opponent on Archer. He's won a lot of, pretty much every joust that he's had with cavalry, he's won. So if I was Swrvy or Daymonicus, I'd be ready to just about rage quit.
They need to stop going for him, man. They need to leave him alone. Folks,
yeah, I know. Yeah, they may not have learned that lesson yet, and who knows why. I would not be surprised if, you know, a lot of the times infantry, you know, want cavalry to go for the archer, but they don't. I don't know. I feel like if you're not a cav player, you don't realize how that doesn't work. Yeah, that's what I say too. Like, I mean, I think
it's a little backwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm up north fishing, and I'm on a hunting trip, so it's a miracle I got the signal. Please, when the match is over, send me the score.
Will do.
Thanks, Beef. So I'm gonna be there for you for this cast. Sounds like it's been a lively game, though.
Yeah, now it's up. Now Jom's up by 2, so it's kind of taking the lead by a little bit more. I think there's a chance for VK to win if they win the next 3 rounds, but it's gonna be kind of tough.
It'll be tough, you know, but if anyone can do it, VK can do it. So we'll see. Too bad. Right now we're missing Glitterball, we're missing Greg, we're missing a lot of our main lineup guys. So it's unfortunate to be missing so many good players. Flokko's in the ring, though, is he not?
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well this whole time.
Flokko will find a way then. But all right, Fief, let me know. Thank you.
All right, see you later. All right, so now we have the second half of the second map. It's going to be tough for VK2 to pull off a win here. They're going to have to win 3 rounds in a row. Not sure that they can do it, but they definitely have the advantage here on the first round. Jom is going to be on Vlandia, VK2 is going to be on Empire, VK2 will have the advantage for the first round, where, you know, Vlandia always has an eco disadvantage for the first round of a set. Did not realize how wide this guy's character was. Has the obese character model. Maybe it's an Ornstein and Smo inspired choice there. Looks like Jom's missing just one player before they start. So Jom says that they are not ready for the next round yet. I assume that is a joke. We'll see here. Well, he ended the warm-up, so I guess he is ready. Alright, so it's going to be the toughest round for Jom. Their first round on Vlandia in this match. It's going to be the last half of the last map of this match. And again, VK has to win 3 rounds in a row to win kind of this first matchup. Now, every round kind of does count for VK. So even if they only win 1 round, you know, it does matter. You know, if Jom wins 11-6, that hurts VK2 a lot more than if they, you know, it's a 1-round difference. This is not just a elimination tournament. This is kind of a rounds count stage of the tournament, where you fight every other team, and then kind of the rounds are tallied up, totaled up. So it really doesn't make sense to start throwing just because you're up by a few, which neither team is doing here, but I have seen in lower division fights. So they're starting the fight right off the bat, and I'm not seeing. Looks like Beano's on crossbow again. VK is taking the infantry fight pretty much right off the bat, doing more damage. So, I mean, this is definitely Jom's round to lose as Vlandia with the eco disadvantage. But would have been huge for them to completely knock out the chances of VK2 pulling off a win here. Now, they do lose a couple of guys to cavalry and maybe an archer here or there. So, it's going to hurt VK2. I think they still have a chance, but what's going on here? I'm curious if the Vlandian Cav, like Alkryia, who's the other guy? He's still first life? Beastmaster. They're all... Beastmaster is second life, and so is Alkryia. So they can't play as aggressively as they might want to. Yeah, I think VK2 very likely to close the gap here, but they are expected to win this round. You know, it's totally fine if they don't win it with their first lives. Looks like they are going to have to bring in their reinforcements to win this round. You know, it's interesting, it does look like they're considering trickling, because Plocoon's on his first life. He doesn't need anybody else to help him. I don't know why they are over here with him. It seems like a bad idea to me, but I guess they trust themselves not to get pushed, or maybe they're trying to consider fighting right away to stop any looting by the peasants. They did get all new weapons and shields. I don't know why. Is Beano trying to reset here to do some more damage? I guess his thoughts are, if I can do just a little bit of damage and, you know, bait a hit for the cavalry, maybe that'll be enough of a difference for the rest of the guys. And he dropped his crossbow for Sweet. That makes sense. So the reason that Beano reset there is he was on his first life and he wanted to get you know, an extra weapon for Sweet and hopefully get some damage in. So it's a pretty smart play, but he did get cut off there. And very good play by VK2 to just kill him right in spawn. Now, I don't know why there's a 1v3 going on here, but I'd be kind of annoyed if I was NoPanda fighting a 1v3 while the rest of my team is doing nothing. I mean, they did kill somebody, but I mean, I think they'll win the round regardless. But just getting the mindset of that player, I would prefer my team to be with me. So that goes to an 8-7, still in Jom's favor. Now it's going to be, you know, more of an even fight with that gold disadvantage solved for Vlandia. So they're going to have 2 lives of Sergeant. It's going to require exceptional play from the Vlandian champions, VK2, on Empire on the second half of the second map. They're going to have to win 2 rounds in a row, 3-0, Jom here to win, and Jom's been playing great this whole fight. So I don't think that's likely, but it's definitely possible, and this infantry fight is basically going to determine if VK has a chance of winning this match overall or not. Looks like that cavalry did land their spear, maybe not in the intended target, but he hits the next guy. VK2 gets 2 kills right away. They're going to have to play really well, and it looks like they might be doing that. Now, NoPanda is dead, which is going to hurt them because he is one of their better players on the VK2 lineup. He's been doing crazy this whole fight, this whole match. Yeah, I was optimistic that Empire had a chance here. You know, VK2 had a chance here. And instead of, you know, kind of stomping Vlandia, it looks like they're going to barely kind of draw even. I mean, these guys are pretty hurt, so they'll probably do something, some kind of damage. OrkWarboss and Sweet, it looks like they're first lives, and they're going to try to do something before they kind of respawn their second lives. They're going to cap B and probably go push the infantry. I assume Beano is probably still in his first life. Let's see what he is. Yeah, he's still in first life. Looks like the cavalry... Sorry, Beastmaster died, but OrkWarboss, where is Alkryia? Alkryia and Beastmaster both lost their first lives. Daymonicus and Swrvy have as well. Swrvy kind of not super high on the scoreboard. He's a very, very solid cav player, but just not doing enough here. And maybe it's partly because he keeps pushing the archer. Although in that case, this scenario, that was the best possible place for him to push the archer. So I won't criticize him too much for that decision. But you know, taking that slash to his horse was also probably unnecessary. And they did, you know, they were going to catch the archer anyways. So I think everybody's on their second lives at this point. And let's see who can win here. I think pretty healthy second generation for VK2. They still have a chance to win. It's actually anyone's game, but this round really determines if VK2 has a chance of winning this match. Not the tournament. They're not going to be knocked out of the tournament overall, but they will be knocked out of this match if they lose this round. Very tense moment here, waiting for something to happen. Wow, that was a big stab from Swrvy. Crossbow's very hurt, and he's hurt so bad that he decides to go and block, and he almost gets knocked out there. It would have been huge for VK2 had he actually gotten stabbed there. That miss could cost them the round. Wow. Yeah, not looking great for VK2. Not impossible to pull it off here, but it's not looking... Yeah, okay. It might be over for them. Might be over for them in this match. I do not see them pulling off a win in this round. There are not enough rounds left in this half, in this match, for them to pull off enough rounds to overcome and kind of be the overall winner of the match, but they've all fought very well so far. That's, I think, 9-7 in favor of Jom. So yeah, I think the most that they could do is pull off a draw at this point. They still have the chance to draw. They win 2 in a row on Empire. They could do a 9-9. We have the wah cry from OrkWarboss's team on Jom. have the live action role play occurring here. Okay. Empire gets dismounted pretty fast, and it's not going to help in this fight. Let's see, I mean, I don't know if I would push the archer with my spear. He didn't want to get harassed by cavalry, probably, but it did mean that he had to pull off when a second infantry pulled up. So yeah, I think VK2 did pretty well in that fight, and has a real chance of pulling off a draw still. They'll have to win 2 in a row. So this is their first lives, and they'll have to do some serious damage to have a solid chance of winning the second fight. I think they did something here, but not as much as they probably would have hoped. So well played by Jom. Looks like everyone except for Daymonicus is on last. Daymonicus has enough for Peasant Life on Empire. He actually went Recruit instead of Cavalry. Interesting call. Or by the, I don't know. Is he trying to flank around, presumably? What's going on there? Where is he? He is flanking around. Trying to get the drop on the archer. Crossbow, rather. But it's going to be hard to do that when there's 3 infantry right next to him. Where's that? Where did he go? Oh, wow. I did not see him sneak around there. It's crazy that this is actually working. I cannot believe that actually worked. Honestly, it requires very high-level recruit like gameplay to not get hit there. So what happened is Daymonicus, you know, he was too close to the expo to pull out a sword, so he had to bash him. But I mean, he played it perfectly. I don't know. I think ideally he would have managed to switch to a secondary sword instead of continuing to throw in the face of the crossbow. To a certain extent, it is more annoying and frustrating, and you know, maybe has other advantages to stay with the throwing weapon out. But you know, well played to him to not get hit there. If it was me, I would have like tried to switch my sword right away if I was a recruit without bashing, and then like get hit there. So I was surprised when Beano was swinging and Daymonicus didn't take any damage. So it was well done. Not to say that the play overall worked out perfectly, but he still recovered from being too close with throwing weapon out pretty well. It's going to be tough for the crossbow to shoot for very long with this narrow passageway and cavalry all around him. So they did kind of nullify his utility in the fight to a certain extent. Now, I would... crossbow is not having much opportunity to fire here, but he is keeping a cavalry out of the fight, so that's still significant value to his team. Now, you know, lower tier teams would like delegate or reserve somebody to be like a dedicated guardsman to the archer, and that would mean that you'd have a whole extra person out of the fight, and that becomes more of a detraction than a value add. But Beano kind of solo there, managed to distract 2 different, I think 1 or 2 different cavalrymen for a significant portion of that fight. So it looks like everybody has a life on Empire. And I think that, you know, Jom overall kind of just barely lost that first fight. And they have, wow, that's huge. That pick is really big for VK2. I think they have a real chance of pulling off this round, which means they have a better chance of being able to pull off a draw here. If they win, it'll be 2-2 on this map, and if VK2 pulls off a 3-2, it'll be a 9-9 overall. That'll be a draw for them. That Cav gets off another shot, another stab off on the archer, and then the archer gets the crossbow gets a shot off right away, back on him. This crossbow's landing a lot of hits, doing a lot of damage. And it looks like Daymonicus was not able to get close enough, and they're going to lose this round. So, it looks like no longer possible for VK2 to pull off a draw. Because even if they win the next round, it's going to be, what, 10-8? So, fortunately, that was their best chance to even the score. They can still at least narrow the gap by a little bit from here. Alright, so looks like a spirited match here, and Vlandia is doing pretty well in this fight. Off the bat, it looks like. I think Empire's going to lose this one as well. The archer does go down, which has got to be at least a morale victory for VK2. I would definitely be intensely disliking that crossbow if I was fighting with VK2 by now. All right, so it's been a pretty close match up until now. I mean, I think the whole way throughout, it's been a pretty competitive match. You know, not a stomp by either side, and we've seen quite a few, you know, turnarounds towards the end of a set where it would have mattered a lot had VK2 not scored some rounds earlier on. It would have been a much bigger gap here in terms of score. Yeah, I don't think they're going to win this round either. It's looking kind of bad for them. Now, if I'm not mistaken, could be the case that Vlandia has one first life in this fight, which would be kind of not what they want to have happen as one injured guy fighting with their last lives. Looks like Swrvy did leave the server, so they think it's over. It is over either way, and he's completely out. So it's going to be an 11-7 for the last round here. As 11-7 in the favor of JOMTARD and Friend against the Vlandian champions, VK2. Well fought to both teams, really solid players across the roster of both sides, so well done, good fights. You know, ironically, actually having a couple players rage quit at the end there makes it pretty hard to have the final scoreboard. At least if you're trying to track the what is it, the Fantasy League scores? That's going to be kind of a problem, isn't it? Good thing I've been hitting tab a lot, but maybe not even enough. Well, let's see if Daymonicus can get a kill in here. I mean, if he had landed one of those hits, those infantry are pretty hurt. Okay, I guess not. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I might let the stream run for an extra, 20 seconds here. Let me just see. I'm going to temporarily mute Discord audio and see if you guys want to actually give a post-match interview or not. Hey, Daymonicus and NoPanda, you guys are... Daymonicus, do you guys want to do a post-match interview? Anybody here? By the way, you're not on stream yet. All right, let's actually go to a streaming watch party, so we'll have the Discord overlay in the other channel. All right, Daymonicus, let me go ahead and unmute ourselves. All right, Discord audio is live. You are now on stream. So how'd that match go?
I thought it went Middling. Obviously, we did lose the match just by 1 or 2 rounds there. So, you know, a lot of mistakes from our team. We could have played a lot better.
What do you think was like the most, you know, obvious thing in hindsight that you would have not wanted your team to repeat if you could redo it?
So I'll tell you from the Cav perspective, what I'll say is that I found that we weren't able to put enough pressure on their archer or kill their imp faster, right? So our imp had to either ignore the archer and just kill their infantry, or get on that archer and shut him down from shooting. That archer was free shooting a lot and impacting our team quite a bit, so maybe a team comp change could have been used, something like that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is Beano, I mean, he pretty much landed every single joust with the cavalry. I don't know if there was, did you guys get, I mean, not every single one, but it felt like an 80 to 90%. It's pretty impressive to be dealing with that. I mean, what do you think could have been the change for that? I mean, on the first map, what is like Sturgia? Would you have considered bringing Brigand on Sturgia or something? Like, what would you do differently? Do you think?
It could have been like maybe bringing only 1 cav and then bringing a skirmisher, so like Brigand on the Sturgia side, recruit on the Empire side. You know, that could have been possibly very useful. I just think though I will say our team has not played any practice matches together, and I think that actually showed today. We didn't have a comp. We had a last minute sub in, you know, so I think that hurt our chances a lot in that match. Just coming in a little underprepared.
So, you know, anything surprise you in particular? One thing that really surprised me was seeing Jom bring a Brigand to go help the Cav fight on C in Echerion. That was kind of surprised. I did not expect that. Never seen it before.
Yeah, it happens every now and then in matches, but I didn't expect that either. And something we could have done to capitalize on that was have our inf push their inf. You know, when they were down an inf, you know, that would have been good. But the call out was too late on that. So yeah, something that we have to work on as a team is definitely our communication and call outs.
Are most people on push to talk, or are they on kind of just voice activity? Because I think I find if I'm on push to talk, I don't make nearly as many call outs.
I'm not sure what they're on. I know I'm on push to talk. I was making a lot of calls. NoPanda was making a lot of calls. The rest of our team, not as much, but they haven't played as much skirmish recently. Haven't played the game recently. You know, we just got to get more active, get more practice matches in, I think, and that'll be learn to play together as a team.
Now, I didn't, you know, see every fight, but I mean, how do you think the Cav duels kind of went across the match? Like consistently, you know, in VK's favor, against its favor. I think, you know, Beastmaster.
I think the Cav fights were actually pretty even for the most part. Actually, sometimes I'd say early on they were more in their favor. We had those sometimes like myself or Swrvy going out a little earlier than we wanted to in those fights, not able to have enough impact. Their team, I found, also really played well for their Cav. Fighting in spots where they were at the advantage, their imps backs on the walls, you know. So yeah, again, I think it all just comes down to a communication thing. Just communication, where we're at on the map, that sort of thing, you know. Taking advantageous fights.
Okay, so let me think. What else to ask? So, you know, first match, I think you guys were kind of taking the fight as Sturgia Cav. Was that a bad idea? Did it kind of work out okay? The fighting on C, I don't know if that was a good idea. I don't know, in hindsight.
In hindsight, I don't know, because at first it didn't work out well, right? But then actually we did start to win those Cav engagements on the C flag, and we actually turned the Sturgia side around into a 3-2 for us.
That was huge. It was a big surprise to me. I was impressed.
It was just taking those fights better. You know, I made the call to push out to A from the long ray, and every time we did that, we were in the advantageous spot that time. Our imp were in the better position for our Cav to come in and crash. And if we were able to keep comms like that and plays like that, I think we would have won the match. But, you know, it is what it is.
You know, another thing that surprised me was Jom winning the first round of Sturgia on Echerion with their weakest round for them. Anything you think contributed to that? I don't know what went wrong that made that happen.
I think the main thing was that Brigand play. It was completely unexpected from us. I didn't think they would push the Brigand out to, and those axes really hurt the, especially the Empire Cav. Unlike Vlandia Cav, doesn't have that barding you can bring on their light cavalry.
Right.
So it was just rather unfortunate that, yeah, those axes were just one or two tapping our horses, and they had brigands come back on second life too, so our cav wasn't able to get active in that fight. And yeah, it was just yeah, not a good first round at all.
I think that might have been the round where they were kind of point blank throwing axes to people's heads, which I really expected those to kind of miss because they're hard to throw while moving. Moving target, you're moving yourself. It's really hard to land those, but they kind of did. So that's kind of impressive and unfortunate at the same time. So yeah, I don't know really what else to add. I think those are my main questions off the bat.
Something I'll say: the intel going in. I did not know Beano was such a excellent archer, so props to him. I didn't know he had the aim like that, and he has good movement as well, good positioning. So I didn't respect their archer pick enough as well. So that might have been something if we knew going in, we would have played more around. Maybe had a better plan against their archer. I thought Beastmaster might go archer. I've played against him a ton, know how to counter him, but I just didn't. I just thought they'd run the 4-2. But Beano did quite impressive playing cav or playing archer and brigand. So
I saw the VW tags on him. Isn't that a EU clan?
I'm not sure. It might be. Maybe he plays over there as well. Over there across the pond. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the reason I asked is I could have sworn that I saw them like competing on the the EU Skirmish League. So I mean, not him specifically, but I think VW was one of the competitors in some of the finals at some point. So that might
makes
explain.
sense if he plays archer over there and gets all his experience over there. Because he came in, he surprised us. So.
Okay, so any closing thoughts or comments about the matches?
Yeah, I just think VK2 needs to work on its communication, and I think we have a good chance to win the whole thing. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so a lot of rounds kind of left. You got to fight everybody else in the tournament still. Do you have your week 2 match lined up for, what is it, Sunday probably?
Week 2 match should be tomorrow, yes, Sunday.
Okay.
So.
And who are you guys fighting?
The Dread Swords, I believe.
All right, so where do you think your odds are in that match?
I think looking at that match, I think we'll probably do better. We have now some familiarity as playing together. We also were down 2 players, being Vick and Glitterball. That match would have been perfect example for Glitterball. A very good archer player would have been able to probably counter Beano, or at least be at least of similar skill to him, and that would have been good to have that flex pick. Vick also on Cav, very strong Cav player and Inf player. So, yeah, if we had that, I think that would have gone better for us. But it is what it is. We made do with what we had, and we definitely could have won if we just communicated and played a bit more better.
I feel like Glitterball is like one of the best known archer players. I personally don't know somebody else similar in that caliber. I mean, obviously Beano now.
I'd say Legolas.
Legolas. Yep. Sorry
division.
Forgot to mention him. No offense, Legolas. All right. Well, good luck for your next match.
Yeah.
And I want to say thanks to everybody for playing, and thanks for coming on. That being said, we're going to end the stream here. Good night, everyone. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you later on the next match. Goodbye.